Hello, hello. Welcome to the Nomadic Spaces podcast. I am your host, Sarah from Sukkha Interior Design, and this is our very first episode. Woo! Thank you for being here. So in this very first episode, I wanted to share a little bit about myself in case you don't already know me. Talk a little bit about my business, Sukkha Interior Design, and mostly share why I started this podcast and what you can expect in the weeks, months, and possibly years to come. A quick preface, I am a new podcaster and I am learning as I go, so please be forgiving of any sound issues or editing issues. I am just figuring things out and I appreciate you being here with me as I do that. It means so much to me that you're here. This is a new podcast, so if you are so inclined and have a minute to subscribe, leave a review, and share, that is podcast gold, and it would mean so much to me. All that said, let's dig into our first episode. All right, so for those of you who don't already know me, my name is Sarah Bronstein, and I live full-time in a vintage travel trailer that I designed and renovated. If you're interested in details, it's a 1973 Avion LeGrand. If you don't know Avion, it's very, very similar to Airstream, so silver bullet, lots of windows. Mine is 28 feet long, and the interior living space is about 120 square feet. If you're interested in visuals, I'm going to link pictures to the trailer from my website, and I will also include my Instagram. There's also a highlight reel on my Instagram if you're interested in seeing a little bit of the before condition of the trailer and kind of the process. I saved a lot of updates throughout the process there, so you can always check that out if you're interested in kind of the process, the renovation process. I will also probably do an episode on my renovation project at some point in the future. I live with my pup, Albus, who is my 6 pounds of personality smushed into one fluffy puppy. And I am currently located in central North Carolina. Of course, I'm in a travel trailer, so traveling is always an option. But right now, my only plans are to head up to the mountains, Blue Ridge Mountains, in the spring. And yeah, the rest is up in the air, but that's my tentative plan for the next 6 or so months, if you were curious. My design studio, Sukkha Interior Design, focuses on tiny houses, mobile living quarters, and small spaces. After going through my own travel trailer renovation, it drew me even more to this type of design. Has its own challenges. If you live in a small space or even have a larger home but some unique small spaces within it, you can probably relate to those challenges. And when you're talking about mobile interiors, you have a whole new range of challenges like weight and weight distribution and all of that fun stuff. And I will be doing an episode, I believe in a few weeks, on mobile tiny houses specifically, because not all small spaces are designed to move around, and totally different design approach when we are thinking that way. I've been in the interior design industry for over a decade, however, only recently niched into this tiny house world. My career started in designing commercial workspaces, so offices, and I moved into residential design, and the last 5 years I've been specializing in residential interior design, specifically for short-term rentals and Airbnbs. And I'm also doing an episode specifically on that because there is a really fun overlap of Airbnbs and tiny houses. And it's becoming more and more trendy, I guess, as income property investors are kind of catching on to this. I've always been really passionate about interior design. For me, it really comes from being fascinated with the power of environment and how much our environment impacts our mood, lifestyle, psychological well-being. I think I really became interested in small spaces, living in big cities, in tiny apartments. I lived in New York City and San Francisco, both notorious for spatially challenged living quarters. Over time, I became more interested in sustainability, a more minimalist lifestyle, and my focus with the unique design challenges of small spaces really deepened, and eventually my personal and professional life sort of aligned into this tiny house realm. I decided to start this podcast for two main reasons. The first is that the podcast arena is absolutely saturated with podcasts about interior design. You type in interior design, you can find tons and tons of podcasts dedicated to that topic. You can also find tons of podcasts dedicated to the tiny house lifestyle. But until now, there was not a podcast dedicated specifically to interior design in tiny homes and small spaces. So here we are filling that void. The other reason I really wanted to start this podcast is to connect with people and help more people reach their design goals. I am going to be sharing a lot of tips, a lot of actionable steps that you can implement in your own home. So I wanted to have an impact on people who, outside of who are my clients, that might bring positive change to their environments. So even though we talk a lot about small spaces and tiny homes, if you're listening here and thinking, well, screw this, I live in a regular size house, or I don't have an RV that I'm renovating, so this podcast isn't helpful to me. I'm going to let you in on a quick secret that all spaces, regardless of size, tend to face similar challenges. Small spaces tend to exacerbate those design challenges. There's less solutions because there's less space to deal with. So yeah, the small space design solutions might be more complex. These solutions will still apply to larger spaces. And I will have some episodes that are not dedicated, that are going to be more interior design generally, but just want to be clear that the content and information shared in this podcast will still be super valuable and applicable to your space, no matter what size. So for this first season, I am going to be doing weekly episodes. And you're going to hear about all things interior design. We're going to start with the psychology of it, kind of the interior design basics. Over the next 2 weeks, that's going to be a 2-part episode. And then some things you can expect to hear, all things interior design, especially in small spaces, tiny homes. We can talk about the types of tiny homes, uses for tiny homes. Talked about Airbnbs, but there's a lot of social issues that tiny homes can help impact, specifically like homelessness in major cities. I think tiny homes are going to be part of the solution for dealing with that, the housing crises we have going on in this country. I'm going to talk about small spaces in large homes. And I also have a few special guests I am hoping to bring on, although that will probably be next season. Some other designers and people close to this world, builders that I think have some really valuable contributions that I'd be really excited to chat with for you guys. I want this podcast to be fun to listen to, whether you have a coffee, glass of wine, unless you're driving, which is totally cool. I want this to be a hangout space, somewhere you can come chill, take a load off, get some inspiration to to make updates within your own space. If you have ideas about podcast topics, maybe you have a design challenge in your own home that you'd love spoken to, in my show notes, there's going to be a link that you can click on and tell me what you'd like to hear about. I would really, really love to know. If you have feedback about any episodes, please also use that. I would love to hear from you. And I will be using that information to shape this podcast moving forward. So please don't be shy. I love to connect. It's part of why I started this podcast. So I hope to hear from you there. Let's see. I think that is it for today. I just want to thank you again for being here and listening to me ramble on through my first podcast episode. Again, check out the show notes. There's a lot of valuable links there. And if you have a second, please, please, please subscribe, share, leave a review. It really does mean the world to me and my new baby podcast. That said, I am out of here, and I am excited to chat more next week as we get into Design 101 and background on design psychology.